Thanks to you all for being here. I'm State Senator Kelly Morris, and I represent District 45 in the western suburbs of Minneapolis. And I am very proud to be the chief author of the Protect and Advance Democracy Act, a bill that would bring ranked choice voting statewide to Minnesota. Our bill is pretty straightforward. It implements ranked choice voting for state and federal offices and provides the option for all local jurisdictions to adopt ranked choice voting if they wish. It gives local jurisdictions the immediate option to adopt ranked choice voting and the strategic on-ramping of statewide ranked choice voting in 2026, ensuring a process and a timeline to engage election officials and other stakeholders in establishing the necessary standards, procedures, and technology upgrades to effectively and securely implement ranked choice voting. The bill establishes a ranked choice voting implementation task force to develop the standards and procedures, to implement it, and then to enact ranked choice voting in primary and general elections for state and federal offices, again, beginning in 2026. I and a huge coalition of Minnesotans believe we need this bill. Ranked choice voting is the best step we can take to reduce extremism and division. When I talk to voters in my purple district, I hear concerns from people on both sides of the aisle about how toxic politics and division are damaging our democracy. For years, it has impacted our ability to problem solve and address issues, even issues that are broadly popular, because of the dysfunction and gridlock in our government. In elections that use ranked choice voting, candidates have to appeal to their opponent's supporters for second and third choice votes. And they do that by running positive campaigns that focus on policy solutions rather than personal attacks. Candidates must build broad coalitions to win. Ranked choice voting gives voters greater voice, choice, and power. When you think about the big challenges that we face as a state, in order to tackle them and make headway, we must bring broad majority coalitions of people together in positive, unifying ways. To build a multiracial democracy that encourages participation and where everyone has a voice, ranked choice voting is a way to make that our reality. It's just the kind of change we need in this moment for a stronger, thriving democracy. And with that, I will turn it over to Representative Cedric Frazier, who is the chief author in the House.
Thank you, Senator Morrison. My name is Cedric Frazier, and I am the chief author in the House. You know, one of the most important things for me about this bill is when I think about my district. Now, I succeeded Representative Lyndon Carlson, who was there for a long time. But he's a great role model because the way he campaigned in our district was he knocked on every single door. He didn't follow any campaign lists of just specific supporters, but he went out and he talked to everyone. And I still get emails today that say, you know, one of the things that they like the most about Representative Carlson is that he would be responsive, and no matter what the issue was, even if they didn't agree, he would communicate with them, and they felt like he was actually trying to represent them in their voice as his role as a representative. I believe that that is what ranked choice voting will require candidates to do, to talk to everyone, to include everyone as they're campaigning. And that's important because right now, we're in such polarizing times when it comes to politics. We're in a place where it is very easy, and what is quite frankly happening all the time. We retreat behind our lines, we're for our folks, we live in echo chambers, and we don't communicate with everyone. That is not what our democracy was meant to be. I believe this bill, ranked choice voting, when we implement it, it will create and get us closer to the democracy that was meant to be, a democracy that is representative of everyone, a democracy that gives a voice to everyone, a democracy where every representative communicates with every single segment of their community. And that community will have respect for that individual, and there will be some credibility because they will know that candidate and they will know that representative because they were required to have those conversations and required to connect with them. So I am very excited about this opportunity to have this conversation. I think it's been a long time coming. We've seen it implemented in other places around the country, and we've seen it doing well. And so we're excited to have the conversation here. And I will step aside and I will introduce Representative Mike Freeberg, who is the chair of our Elections Committee.
Thank you, Representative Frazier. Thank you, Senator Morrison, for your leadership on this issue. I'm Mike Freiberg. I'm a state representative from Golden Valley, neighboring district to Representative Frazier. Also inherited a bunch of territory that was represented by Representative Lyndon Carlson for a long time, so I was glad to hear him mentioned because I have the same experience with him. But I've supported ranked choice voting. I'm excited to be a co-author this year. It's a system that's been implemented effectively both in Minnesota and around the country and can be done here. And I'm looking forward to having a discussion in the Elections Committee as this moves forward, and just really excited to be a part of this effort, and happy to hear from people, hear what questions you have about it too. So with that, I will turn it over to former Senator and current Fair Vote Minnesota board member, Melissa Franzen.
Thank you, legislators, and thank you all for being here today. I'm very excited to be here today as a former colleague of many of these great individuals here supporting Fair Vote Minnesota and the efforts for ranked choice voting. And first of all, I want to thank Representative Frazier and Senator Morrison for leading the charge here at the legislature for this critical piece of legislation. For those who don't know me, I'm Melissa Lopez Franzen. I'm a current board member of Fair Vote Minnesota and a proud supporter of the Protect and Advance Democracy Act. This legislation comes at a pivotal time in democracy. Political division, as was mentioned, and extremism is on the rise, and it's unacceptable. Political division and civil discourse is seemingly being thrown out the window. And the division that we see in politics today, it creates a toxic environment for what should be a thriving democracy. The attack ads that we see every year, we have an election, and the vitriol alongside the constant peddling of misinformation has led to non-voters often being the largest voting bloc in each election. The Protect and Advance Democracy Act strengthens our democracy by removing barriers to public office for traditionally underrepresented communities and communities of color. And research comparing election results across the country shows that ranked choice voting is a significant benefit to women and candidates of color in particular. Under ranked choice voting, women and people of color are more likely to run and win in higher numbers. They feel they can be part of this democracy. They feel like they can be put up in candidacies without being traditionally in this environment before. And because candidates appeal to their opponents support for second choices, ranked choice voting fosters more civil campaigns and a more accountable and responsive government, something desperately needed year after year of gridlock and dysfunction that has been alluded to. We have a strong coalition of diverse legislators in Minnesota because voters use their power and their vote. It's time for us to deliver for Minnesotans and protect and advance our democracy, and this bill does just that. I look forward to seeing it move swiftly through committee and to the governor's desk this year. Thank you. And I get the privilege to introduce Jean Massey, who is the lead behind Fair Vote Minnesota. I've known her for 10 years. She's a force, and that is why we are here in this moment, in this session. So thank you, Jean.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate that warm introduction, and thank you for all of your colleagues who've come and joined us today. I want you all to note that this is just a small sample of those who signed on to the legislation to advance ranked choice voting statewide in Minnesota. 35 authors in the House filled that page with the Speaker as the last signer on that bill, and it's full on the Senate side as well. So we're very excited for the broad support that this bill has. As I was introduced, my name is Jean Massey, and I'm the Executive Director of Fair Vote Minnesota, the leading nonpartisan nonprofit organization educating and advocating for ranked choice voting here in Minnesota. And thank you, Senator Morrison and Representative Frazier, for your vision for where the future of our democracy can go and for leading on this important legislation. And the good news is that Minnesota voters fully agree that with you and are ready for ranked choice voting. I'm excited to announce the just released results of a statewide poll by Expedition Strategies that shows that 64% of Minnesotans from across the state, among Democrats, Republicans, and independents, support ranked choice voting for state and federal elections. We are ready. And why is that? For reasons that you've heard before. Voters are very concerned about the state of our democracy. They're worried about political violence and extremism and division in our politics. And they are tired of the negativity and want more civil elections. They also want more choice in their elections and to be assured that those who represent them win with a majority of the vote. Our current system doesn't foster any of these outcomes. In fact, it does just the opposite. This poll validates the tens of thousands of conversations Fair Vote Minnesota organizers and volunteers, myself included, had at the doors in 2022 with voters from across Minnesota. Political extremism was a top concern, and ranked choice voting is a real solution to this rising problem. The Protect and Advance Democracy Bill will empower voters with greater choice, make elections more civil and inclusive, ensure majority support for winning candidates, and encourage office holders to be responsive to that majority for a healthier, more effective democracy. In the recent statewide RCV elections in Alaska, Democratic Congresswoman Mary Peltola and Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski were elected over their more highly polarizing challengers because of ranked choice voting. An outcome celebrated not just in Alaska, but around the country. Ranked choice voting rewards civility and broad-based coalition building, just as we saw in these two consequential campaigns, and this is what Minnesotans want. Ranked choice voting is tried and tested. It's not just in Alaska, but in the state of Maine and 60-plus local jurisdictions, including 5 here in Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Bloomington, St. Louis Park, Minnetonka. We've been documenting the experience of Minnesota voters using ranked choice voting ballots since 2009. And we know from firsthand research here in Minnesota and around the country that it has been a tremendous success. Bottom line, voters overwhelmingly like it, they find it easy to use, and want to see it used for all elections. As you heard, the benefits of ranked choice voting are not theoretical. It is one of the most effective ways to put a big dent in the division and disinformation that is undermining our democracy. The movement for ranked choice voting has been building for nearly 20 years. Not a new idea. It is time to move forward on this practical and powerful reform, and voters are ready for it. Minnesota is ready to be the next state to pass ranked choice voting statewide, and the first to do so through legislative action. Thank you for your time, and I'd like to bring forward Representative Frazier and Senator Morrison to answer your questions.
Thanks. That's only if you have questions.
Stun them into silence.
We were just thorough.
Okay, excellent. Go ranked choice voter.
Thanks, everybody.
Too many press conferences.
Don't worry out.